Good, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the second half of Rethink Rooftops, the knowledge day of Rotterdam rooftop days. Sorry, I'm a bit confused by all the people I see. I didn't see you all morning, and now I suddenly see all those familiar faces. My name is Leon van Geest. We even have that printed. And together with the wonder in the back, Nikki, I'm the director of the Rotterdam Rooftop Days. We're very happy that you're here. The last few years we were on a rooftop near the river at Las Palmas, and it was very cold every year. It was very windy like it was now. I see people nodding. It was very cold. So we thought maybe this time we should try a venue inside, but still on a rooftop. But we still wanted to get you on a rooftop, and you were all on rooftops this morning. So I hope that was good. We will see the results in a minute. But first, I want to do a short opening with someone from the municipality. We have here Matthijs van Ruiven, Head of Urban Planning of the City of Rotterdam. Can I have an... Well, it must be great to be head of urban planning in Rotterdam. How long are you in that job already?
I've been doing that for 13 years now.
13 years, wow.
Yeah.
I know Matthijs a bit, that's why I'm so informal with him. But people always ask me, so Leon, you are doing this for 12 years now, the Rotterdam Rooftop Days, but we still see a lot of rooftops that are unused. And I always, of course, blame the municipality. Who do you blame? He said to me, you can ask me anything.
That's right. And let me say first, welcome to Rotterdam for those who come from abroad. So very happy to have you here. In Rotterdam particularly, we have an informal way of city making, so that's why we can do this sort of things and we support one another. Who to blame? Well, first of all, it's important to the owner of a building to be able to know who that is, that it has a face. Some buildings here are owned by German pension funds. Where do you start ringing on the doorbell? It's quite difficult. And there's more. There's the VVE, this a big apartment building, and every owner of a apartment is also owner of the whole block. So then you've got 100 owners to talk about a roof. That is extremely difficult.
So it's a lot about ownership.
So it has to do a lot with ownership, and that's why rooftops are fantastic. And I think everyone enjoys being on a rooftop. I've never spoken to someone, well, if you're afraid of heights perhaps, but everyone loves them. But it is important to do this day as we have today, or the whole week with you. It is important to show how fantastic it is, but also how it contributes to climate change, social meeting people, all that sort of thing. So we have to keep addressing it because those owners are in some cases really hard to reach.
Yeah. And sometimes, because a lot of people from abroad, they look at Rotterdam, oh, you're such a marvelous city on rooftops. You have the festival, you have a lot of great rooftops. We have a lot of great rooftops, but that also gives a kind of pressure of, I feel that pressure a bit. Do you feel that pressure too, to be ahead on rooftop knowledge?
No pressure.
No pressure.
No, and that's also, I think we get a lot of compliments from people from outside Rotterdam. At the same time, we know that we have to learn a lot. And therefore, we are both bold and proud and at the same time modest. And I think that's a good attitude. But yeah, we have a lot of policy. Some of my colleagues are in this room as well. So if there is a development, then the owner is aboard. And then we say, hey, you need to do at least 2 things on the roof. Choose for yourselves, that sort of things. We all have, so we're all sorted if there is a development. But yeah, the difficult part is, can you trigger owners to do something? And isolation, for example, is a starting point, or just maintenance and so on.
Okay, well, we'll keep it short because we have a lot of people speaking. Thank you very much for being here. Also, I really like that you said I'm going to be here all afternoon because I really want to see everything. So that's also a big win that you are here. Give it up for Matthijs. We're going on this rooftop world tour amongst a lot of cities. And like I said, there are also some projects that we did not invite here, but were worth mentioning and that were delivered last year. There's one in Berlin that I just quickly wanted to show you. This is a newly built office building in Berlin. And I really love it. It's like this. It's a really nice building standing here next to the spray. And I just want to take you these images. Look it up. It's called the Area building in Berlin. It's a really nice project. But we did not invite them because there were other nicer projects, like a project from Rotterdam. We start modestly in Rotterdam. We have a big duck park here, and there's a new building built on the head of the duck park. So we invited Helen Zhang from IMBO to tell us about that. Ellen.
Go to the next slide. Yeah. Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Yeah, so I've been invited to this event, and it's very nice because we can talk about a building which is now being built in Rotterdam, which I'm very proud of. This comes from the Europon winning Office H3O. They won the Europon in 2019. And after that, IMBO has been selected as local partner to design actually the building with them. So later I will show the winning concept, which is like quite an abstract idea. It's called hybrid parliament to actually connect different communities together. So you have people, you have plants, and you have animals. And from that essence, we have been looking as IMBO to how to make it also like in for the social housing corporation Woonstad. So it's actually quite an interesting process to combine these two offices together. One is from the Spanish side, so it was like a very poetic way of communicating. And of course, the Dutch side is more direct. So we immediately say like, we like it, we don't like it. So we also have a colleague, Rita, who can help us to bridge the Spanish and the Dutch culture. Was very nice. So as you can see this image, the idea that I started with this project is, can you imagine that you wake up one day in the middle of the city and you are in the middle of all the plants and you're living in a social housing and you can still have a view over the harbor and the city. How nice would it be? So that's the first thought that I had when I started with this project. And if you look at the location, we are at the orange dot, so always nice is to know where we are now. And the yellow dot is where the project is. It's really the entrance from the west of Rotterdam. So if you enter Rotterdam from the Marconiplein with the Marconi Towers, this is the next building that you will see. So that's very important. And also to know that it's part of the green connection, and that's because of the big dog park. So if you're talking about rooftop parks, I think that's one of the most famous one in Rotterdam as well. It's like a 1,200-meter long rooftop park, which is like a green boulevard. That's actually the location that we started. It's it stops actually quite abrupt at the McDonald's. And then starts like a triangular plot that we have to design. It was former railway yard, and it's now actually a park that you cannot see when you drive there. It's a combined mixed-use ground of this little strip of the city. On top of it, there's a park on 9 meters high, which is also like a dike. And the nice thing is the neighborhood around it, they use it for nice barbecues, communal use, and there are like different parts for children to play. In the neighborhood, there are like 140 different nationalities. So this is also a very important space for them to meet each other. One of the most famous TikTok movie is that they also have sheeps there. Every year, there are like 5 baby sheep that they can feed them on the grass. So that's one of the nice thing is that nature and people really come together on this place. While we are designing this project, this is the Europon idea of X3O. As you can see, it's like quite abstract design. So Woonstad was actually the one who will develop this building, and they were quite shocked about this idea. But they also believed in the quality that's why this building or concept is chosen. So Matthijs know, I think, all of it, of the process, why this concept has been chosen. So the hybrid parliament, it really connects in different neighborhoods and also the nature. So when we are actually at the table, we made a quite analysis of the location. It's a very difficult location for housing because it's surrounded by harbor sounds. It's a very busy traffic point. And also, if you're looking at this giant building of 150 apartments, it has to fit into this context. So IMBO is highly focused on how to make community-based housing. So we are very excited to work on this project because we also see like very many chances to really think about how people can meet each other in such a big building. Yeah, while we are doing analysis, it's actually quite clear that it has to be a part of the park. So it allows you to continue the park instead of that you stop at the park. So, and when you're on the rooftop of the park, you can also look at the green when you are looking through the Marconi Towers. And it has this terrace shape because it also like goes from one lower scale to the higher scale. That makes it interesting to make all those terraces. So this will be the view when it's finished on the top of the dog park. And the nice thing is also that if you can look at the building, we can talk about different terraces, but they also can be used as plazas. So 150 units who are in it, it really feels like a village in a city. And that's also the community feeling that we want to achieve. This is the view from the very busy road. So if you are looking from the city side, you will also experience all the different levels of terraces. Well, the interesting looking from above is that you can see that we have been using the different rooftops for different purposes. So the Woonstad, of course, Social Housing Corporation, they firstly actually didn't believe in all those rooftops. So we actually have to convince them. This is like a market that you make very small houses, small units. So where do you put the people when they want to enjoy the sun? Where do you want to put the people if they want to really meet the neighbors? So I think the green ambitions from the municipality is also one of the most way that we use to convince them. You have to make water buffering on this location because it used to be a grass field. So for that part, it has to be green and it has to have retention roofs. And every roof has its own purpose. So you have roofs that people can grow plants. You have roofs that you can do sports together. There are even like 2 bicycles here that you can really like do sports with your neighbor together. And there's a big playground in the courtyard. So the crazy pergolas, as you can see, that actually lead the residents through this whole routing on the rooftops. You can always walk in a circle in the building on the rooftops, but also like through the galleries. So you're actually making loops in this building continuously. And we as local architects also have to think about how to make this multi-purposes on the rooftops. So they are for meeting your neighbors. They are, the pergolas are made for growing plants. But we also thought of a very efficient escaping route that you can also use the staircase as a routing to escape from up to the ground floor. So all these purposes make it possible for Woonstad to think this is a smart design, but this is also a nice living concept for all the social residents. Yeah, this is actually the picture that I'm most proud of, because you can really see like how do you live there, and the bridges who are connecting the different rooftops and different levels can really benefits that people will really make a circle of walking about it. Yeah, and now it's being built. So last week it has reached the highest point, and the pergolas are now being on the rooftop. So it's going to be a very interesting composition now already. So I'm really looking forward to the realization of it, and I hope that when it's finished, that it can also be a part of the Dakendagen. Yeah, and one of my this is one of my most meaningful and fun project that I've been working on, and because of this, I think that more Europon projects have to be realized. So that's why I wrote the article for the architect for this topic, because it's really a gift for the city when designers get a space to think broader than the daily basis. Yeah, that's the end of my story.
Thank you very much, Helen. Of course, you all have a lot of questions, but the interactive part was like this morning. Now we're doing the whole thing of zenden, broadcasting, sending, yeah. And but after these 2 hours of talks, we going together to walk over another 12 rooftops with a big, nice yellow path. And that's the point where you say that, Helen, I want to talk to her about that crazy design that she did and how did she do it, and with the social housing. So you can all see each other afterwards and see the speaker that you're really interested in. But now we're going over to the next speaker, but not before I shown you another nice project that I came across when I visited the office of 3XN in Denmark. They're busy now with this crazy rooftop in Shenzhen. It's the Natural History Museum of Shenzhen, with this amazing rooftop and this crazy design. I really like how it connects with the river and everything next to it. And it has this great rooftop. Look how they really looked at the landscape and how it comes back in the design. And you think this is a rendering, but they're actually building it. And this was in January. I've seen already pictures, but I could not find them on the internet, where the walls are there and they're starting to put in the green. So that's like an amazing rooftop structure. But now, over to a bit closer here. We are very happy from Hamburg, Gesa Webring from Hildegarden, with this amazing project of the bunker of St. Pauli. It's the big green button.
Thanks.
The floor is yours.
Thanks. Hello. My name is Gesa. I'm from Hildegarden. Hildegarden is a neighborhood initiative, a non-profit organization that is one of the driving forces behind the Green Bunker project in Hamburg. Maybe you've seen it already. I'm going to talk a bit about the process, the participation process also, and give you some insights in this green roof. It's the transformation of a bunker that is in St. Pauli. The project started when the initiator, Matthias Müller-Using, looked out of his window. From his kitchen window, he had this view. He was looking every day on this bunker. It's a bunker from the Second World War that has become part of the city and was immediately after the war used for different functions. There were housing inside, flats for people that lost their homes, but also businesses from the creative area. And in the 90s, it was developed to a music and media center. It was built in 42 as a protective bunker, but also for air defense. And yeah, got shelter for up to 20,000 people. Today it is a monument. And it was back then in 2014, it was still a very harsh place, and the question was, how can it become a nicer space, a more appealing space that interacts better with the neighborhood and become a new value for the city. In the 90s already, German artist Friedensreich Hundertwasser drew a sketch and imagined it could be something green, it could have a green roof. And that was exactly at the time when the leaseholder, Professor Matzen, developed this bunker to the Music and Media Center. But it took 20 more years for a vision to come that actually could be realized. They made a vision, they thought maybe you could add a park on top of this building, make it accessible from the ground, add spaces for the neighborhood that could be used as a park for social users, to be an added value to the city. You see the monument here. This remained untouched. It's like 40-meter high structure, and they put 4 levels on top of it. To access the new structure, they wrapped a path around it. We've also discussed this in the morning. A green path that leads to the top, to the very top, where a garden was imagined. It's like 12,000 square meters that were added on top. And this is why the investor became enthusiastic about it. He apparently, they say, he had always dreamt about having a hotel, and this was his chance to realize a hotel. And also the vehicle to generate money to reinvest, that could be reinvested in the public functions. Yes. I show you a picture of the green. This was in the summer after the opening. It was more than 20,000 plants that were planted, and it really gives a very nice green impression, and it will grow and even develop a more park-like atmosphere. Maybe also interesting to know that there's not only green, but also a whole water system is behind it. We collect the rainwater, and it's used to, of course, feed the plants, but also it's a circular system. The water is collected in a cistern and then used again to water everything. Maybe a chart to explain again who was involved. It was the initiators. It's a group of under the lead of Matthias Müller-Using. He had a studio, and they created the vision of the bunker, of a green bunker. This was in 2014. With this vision, they convinced the leaseholder, Professor Matzen, talked also to the city authorities, who also showed that they could imagine something happening there. And then this neighborhood initiative Hildegarden was founded. Because in that area, St. Pauli, you cannot really do a commercial project without the goodwill of the neighborhood, or you have to convince the people that it's a good project also for them, and that they can see a value there. Normally the participation process is done by the municipality. In this case, it was the investor who took part of it, or took care of it. I guess because the process seemed to be quicker then. But also because he's convinced of social projects, and he's known for developing other social or projects in other contexts that are social and that are not only for commercial interests. So the Hildegarden, the neighbors, they formed a group and they developed ideas what can be done there with the public spaces. They were mainly talking about these green spaces, the path that goes on top, the park on the very top, and the green overhanging structure that goes around on the roof level of the former bunker. There was a group of experts that they could discuss their ideas with to bring them to a level that could be actually realized. And these ideas were also discussed with the planning team, the architects and planners. There was a back and forth exchange. And all these ideas were then bundled in a concept book that was delivered almost at the same time as the building application. So it took a bit more than half a year to get all these ideas together and make a project that could be actually handed in at the municipality. How did the participation look like? Of course, if you want the neighborhood to be involved, you need a space that you must be visible. So they had this information pavilion just in front of the bunker in the form of a mini bunker. This was the place where you could go, you could ask questions, you could take part at workshops. There was a newspaper that was handed out to everyone, explaining all the different groups that were there. There was a questionnaire inside so that it was easy for people to give their opinion and to hand in their ideas also. There were several workshops, and to organize the whole process a bit, there were 5 working groups. One was dealing with the process of how the organization works like, what could Hildegarden mean in the future also, what kind of role could they have. The other one dealt with the topic of the memorial site. How can you remember the past, the history, what kind of role can it maybe play in the future? Another group that dealt with the interior spaces. The idea was that some square meters of these 12,000 square meters were given to the public as rent-free spaces. Exterior spaces, the mountain path, the rooftop garden, how could they look like, what could happen there, and also a group that thought about energy and circularity. I'll give you some insights in the work groups. This is done by the work group Exterior Spaces. They collected images, different functions, with the idea that some of these ideas could be realized. The work group Memorial Site thought about the path and thought that it must not only be a green path or part of the park, it should be more and also explain the monument, the historic facts, and came up with the concept of different stops where you can focus on different topics. As I said, all these ideas were collected in a book. It's like 140 pages with all sorts of ideas, inputs that gave a good start to the project. The participation process went until July of 2015, when the building application was given to the municipality. Then took 2 more years to reach a building permit. It was quite unusual project. There were so many questions, many things to be explained further. This was really a long process of back and forth, and but finally, in 2017, there was a building permit, and then the detailed design could continue. In this phase, Hildegarden was still involved. It was not anymore in this very broad way that every inhabitant could participate, but it was the members of this of Hildegarden that were still partners in terms of discussing ideas and make sure that the spaces that they were promised also remained theirs. It's so easy to then face problems like technical problems, and suddenly all your spaces are gone. In July 2019, construction started. That was also a very exciting moment. Then Corona crisis came. The whole project continued. It didn't give a stop, but it went more slow. So it took 3 more years until the first trees could be planted. This was also very spectacular because the trees were planted in big trees were planted. So you had to bring them with the crane, and it's also not a very usual thing to lift up trees. Then in July 24, the whole project was finished, and the opening could be that. We took part on the top of the building. This is the ladies in color are representative of our community of Hildegarden, and I think everyone was very proud. Today we have spaces on level 4 that we use for workshops, for exhibitions. You see, it's a very lively community. We like to gather there, do things together. We give guided tours. If one of you is interested and comes to Hamburg, you can book a tour. We are very happy to show you around. We do urban gardening. We have a space on the former roof of the former bunker where we have this raised beds, and it's very nice to grow tomatoes and all sorts of vegetables, even though it's very windy and not so easy for them to survive, but it's fun. Yeah, and we also realized the information boards where people can inform themselves. We have also interviews with people who experienced the wartime as children, so they can tell about their experiences, and this is very, it's a great value, I think. I was asked if I could say something about lessons learned. This is not such an easy question, but I must say if you look at the project now, you can easily get the impression that it's more a project for tourists. There are very many people that come and visit the place, which is nice, of course. But at the same time, it's not so easy for the neighbors to just go there and read a book. There's a security concept. There's a bag control down there. You cannot bring food and drinks. It's always full of people, so this is maybe a question of time. I don't know. It's still new, so everyone goes there and visits it. Maybe after 10 years, it's not such a thing anymore to tourists. Maybe then it can become a bit more space for the neighborhood again. And also, I think during the construction time, it was quite a long time, a lot of residents lost the connection. So now our work is also to tell them again, hey, we are there. We have the spaces now. If you want to do something, you can come to us. You can use our spaces. We are open to all sorts of ideas. If you want to have a birthday party for your 5-year-old, you can do it here. If you want to do whatever, just ask or just become a member and be part of the whole thing. Yes, this is my contribution. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Geza. It's really nice. It's such a great story also, and the time it took, and also the last lesson that when you make a really great rooftop like you all imagined this morning, then it maybe becomes a touristic attraction, and it is not for the neighborhood anymore. And we have to think about that also in Rotterdam when we build the big Hofboog line, that it still is part for the neighborhood. I think that's something to think about, making great rooftops, but it should not stop us making great rooftops and involving the neighborhood in that. So I'm gonna then, and so found Geza when we walk there and we drink together, find her because she's full of stories. And I'm very happy to say that with the ECRN, the European Creative Rooftop Network that we have with some European cities, we are gathering within a month at the bunker to have our meeting, because there is the Hamburger Dakendagen there on 25 and 26, I think, of June. So that's also a reason to go there, visit the bunker and other rooftops. I'm going to take you shortly to Qingdao, which is in China, and where is this amazing rooftop skate park, which I really like. It's really wild in what it is. I only found pictures of how it is when it was just delivered with only one skater. I'm very curious how it looks when there's a lot of skaters and how it looks after 10 years when it's really been used. But it really looks like a great rooftop, and it shows that not all rooftops have to be green to be great rooftops. Another great rooftop that we really wanted to have here is from Vienna, and we're really happy to have Fabian Carr here from Queercraft about his project he did in Vienna for IKEA. Here you go.
Thank you, Leon. So, hi, my name is Fabian. I'm representing the architectural office Queercraft from Vienna. Today I'm shortly going to talk about our office, and then I'm going to show you what you're all here for, the rooftop at the IKEA at Vienna's Westbahnhof. Queercraft was founded by the Beatles in 1998. These days they go by the names of Gerd Erhard, Peter Sapp and Jakob Dunkel. But we are a team of about 40 people, and we do work at the old stock exchange building in Vienna. Oops, that's not supposed to be there. That's one of our bosses during one of our team lunches. Our office motto, our goal, our vision, so to say, is giving people space. So everything that we do takes the human as a goal, as a center. These are some of the rooftops we designed during our 25 years of office. I wanted to say we are an international office, but then I discovered that except for one of them, every one of those projects is in Austria. Whatever. These are some projects that we are currently working on. In the morning, I mentioned the project with the sheeps on the roof. You can see a very crude rendering on the top, but it's being realized right now. I'm not supposed to show you this one. IKEA at Vienna's Westbahnhof. The briefing by the client, IKEA, you may all know the blue boxes on the outskirts of the city, was to be a good neighbor. We want to go into the city center. We want to have a new approach. We want to have a new concept. And they basically didn't know what it meant to be a neighbor. So our task was to find out what is a good neighbor. The plot is located at Vienna's Westbahnhof station. You can see the inner city, and you can see the Danube River with the Danube Island in the middle. The Westbahnhof area basically is what you would consider an urban heat island. So there's, for Viennese area, very much sealed space. There's Maria-Hilfer-Straße coming up, and right in the circle is our project. As an architect, we are always obliged to show plans. That's why you have the same thing in a drawing again. We took inspiration for the project by thinking about how, or what does it mean to be a good neighbor? What do you want your neighbor to be? And we came up with the idea that basically the best neighbor would to have a park, right? You want to go outside and you want to sit in the shade, you want to sit in the green, you want to maybe touch grass, you want to sit below a tree. And this is also a project in Vienna. It's a park, on a city quarter, a city block. You can see it's quite green, except for it is not a park, it's a building. We already seen the architect, Friedensreich Hundertwasser. That's the Hundertwasser building in Vienna. It's full of trees, and we kind of took inspiration by that. So how do we fit more trees on a building that would have space on a park the same size? We just do it. We have the opportunity to go into three-dimensional space, so we just add trees all around the building, no matter what. And for that, we also decrease the size of the volume of the building. We leave a little bit space. You can see the dotted line on the bottom, and we basically shrink down the building. Still, the white box has about 25,000 square meters. And we just put trees all around the building. This photograph was taken shortly shortly before the opening. There is still a little construction going on at the bottom. And this is what the building looks like 3 years after completion. So you can see a lot of trees, shelving around, because ultimately that's what the client is known for. And what do we do with it? We cool down the urban heat island by 1.5 degrees, and this is not the same 1.5 degrees that is known in the Parisian climate discussion. This is a proven temperature. This is a proven scale by some scientists. We use trees, we use shade, we use the shape of the building to cool down the surrounding area by up to 1.5 degrees felt temperature. The other difficult part was to get a full range self-service furniture store into the city center without a single parking space. So you can imagine people going there, buying their shelves, buying their kitchens, buying their closets, and no one has a car. Well, we were lucky enough because Vienna's Westbahnhof does have a train station, does have a subway station, does have a tramway station. So everyone can get their blue IKEA bag, and everything that fits in this bag can be taken right away from the store. Everything else will be shipped by an electric logistic system. And this is the main floor plan of the building. So we kept the main retail area is basically the most flexible space you can imagine. It's a 10 by 10 squared grid system, a 4.5 meter sphere around where we put all the trees, where we put all the technical infrastructure. So there is not a single pipe. Well, I lied to you. There is one pipe that is going down the middle. It's a 2-centimeter sprinkler pipe that we didn't see in our execution plans. But every other pipe is going around in the circle. So there's not a single vertical connection except for the trees. Also, the evacuation stairs and the elevators going up to the roof terrace are located in the outer sphere, as are some extensions of the inner area to like special spaces for the retail area. And to prove the flexibility of the space, we basically, for the upper 2 floors, so the building has 7 stories. For the upper 2 floors, we included a hostel with 370 beds, which is basically the opposite of an empty retail space. And we tried to implement that as well. So this is above the empty retail space. And above that, we have, well, there are some pictures, of course. Finally, some pictures of the building. So you can see all around the building, we have this shelf, we have the extensions. We have space for people to go out. We have terrace for the traditional IKEA restaurant. And also the facade goes over the 5th facade, the top view of the building. On the top middle picture, you can see the metro station in front with the rounded roof. So in terms of public access, we are very lucky. And that was another goal, a publicly accessible rooftop terrace with no purchase requirement. That was a given by the city. So IKEA had to do a contract with the city of Vienna that people could go up there without needing to buy anything or without buying drinks or whatever. So you can take your own drink, you can take your own sandwich or whatever. You don't have to buy the IKEA hot dog. This is what the roof terrace looks like from above. By the way, this is the largest IKEA logo we put on the whole building. There is no larger IKEA logo on eye level than this one, because we thought it's more important to see it from Google Maps than from eye level. This is what the ground floor of the rooftop looks like. I'm not sure on how many trees of the 160 trees that are around the building are actually on the rooftop, but I guess it's a few of them. So in terms of zoning, we didn't really know what the future use case would be, so we just made we throw some dice and then whatever comes up we put there. No, actually it's 4 courtyards. One of them is the access courtyards. The other 3 courtyards do provide light for the offices and the hostel rooms. And we just put some beer benches. We have some containers that serve food. We do have PV panels for shading. And a very interesting fact is, in Vienna, a building is considered a high-rise if it's 34 or 35 meters and above, and the PV panels have a height of 34.98, so it's not considered a high-rise. In the middle below you can see one of the courtyards that provides the light for the rooms. And you can also see on the bottom left there's a little piece of furniture that's basically a IKEA clip-on sofa that we found in our CAD program as a 3D model, and we just put it there, and somehow it ended up being cast in concrete, a few of them on the roof. The rooftop has been redesigned this May, so a month ago, with a radical new design, radical new zoning. This is the new zoning plan. The big white box, I just noticed it yesterday, is actually, it means you are standing here because this sign is here. So that's what the new zoning is all about. In terms of design, what changed? They put the blue dotted line instead of a white one. And they also did more fixed massive benches, because beer benches would have been thrown around during party time. Talking about party time, this is what the rooftop is being used for. So there is people in whatever, people sleeping, people sunbathing, there is yoga, there is party, there is Christmas markets on top. So it's really used for public activities. Also, we are lucky that the hostel is a company that's doing a lot of activities on top. So there's a lot going on. And also we are quite proud that the IKEA company put us in the important Vienna skyline somehow. So there is Stephansdom, and right next to it our IKEA building. The question is, did we reach our goal? Being a good neighbor. The building is the first retail building in Europe to have its own dedicated fan club. And we discovered this fan club during construction. We thought about it being a PR stunt by some PR agency for the IKEA company, but it ended up being an economic scientist who lives next door, and he already liked the building before being completed so much that he decided to found a fan club. Well, and also our boss is there a lot. I have another 3 slides of another project that we did after the IKEA project, because today we talked a lot about social housing, and I thought this would be very interesting to include it as well. I called it Urban Lemon because we don't have a real title yet for the project. It's a housing project, it's a social housing project in Vienna's Nordbahnhof residential area, so it's a quite big development. And I have to, the concept of the whole city quarter was a green strip running around along some railway tracks. And this building is right at the front or the end of this strip. And so we decided to continue the strip up to the roof. So in the bottom half, basically this yellow half, the orange part, the lemon part, sorry, is the strip, and then there are just some white volumes on top. And what you can see is the green strip basically continues up until the 5th floor, which is really nice, and also for us as architects, really cool space. In this area where the roof is sloping, there are up to 4.5 meters of soil. So we have space for a lot of trees, and they are gonna grow. And the building on the left side has 6 stories. So you can imagine on which height this park is on. Well, that's my story for today. If you want to stalk us, visit our website or our Instagram, or stalk me later. Thank you. Thank you.
Then it's up to me again to take you to another place on Earth. I really like this new thing in Buenos Aires. This is an old parking lot. It was just used for parking autos, and the ODA office in New York, they made it to a new office building. And they did not only make it a new office building, they also made a big rooftop park upon it, which could be done, of course, because it used to be a parking lot. And the most important thing, it has a public access to the street. ODA, Buenos Aires, old parking lot. Google it. And we are going back a bit closer to Antwerp. And I want to ask to the stage Adriaan Vermeulen from the Volle Grond. Do we have an English translation for that, Adriaan?
Full ground.
Full ground.
Full soil.
Full soil.
Yeah.
Give him a big applause.
Thank you. Die groene knop. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody's still awake? Let's go. So I'm from Volle Grond, from Antwerp, Belgium, not so far from here. And we use rooftops for urban agriculture. We use it to evolve the neighborhood and plant together. And I will shortly present our project in Antwerp, which is already up and running for 9 years. And then in the second part, talk about our scaling process to look for new opportunities for this type of project. Who of you guys knows about the city of Pact in Antwerp? Fine. Who has been there, actually? More or less the same, all right? Still some room for new people to come. Shortly want to take you to the problem. I can talk for hours about the problems in our food system, but I will not do it. That's a different story. But I do want to point out that there is a big disconnection between our food and nature and people living in the cities, in the concrete jungle. And on the other hand, in the cities, there's, with this concrete, too much heat island, but also when it rains, it's too rainy, the water can't go. There is the social isolation, there's a lot of pressure on open space, on nature. And that's what we try to do, is using urban agriculture to lower that gap and to get people in the city back in contact with where their food is coming from. We will not feed the city with urban agriculture. Anyone who thinks that, I think it's a myth, but it's a really good way to bring it back into the city and create this kind of oasis in the city, and bringing both civilians as companies, as farmers, giving them back a place in the city and creating hubs for that. This is one of the images. This is our 1,800 square meters rooftop farm, which combines 3 roofs. that were together with some staircases. On the bottom, there is some restaurants, there's some bars, even a fitness. And up there, there's 30 companies having their offices. And around 9 years ago, this old industrial company came to be as a site for business, but also leisure. And they needed something new on top, and they needed a story to go with this new chapter. And that's when we came in. It was actually a university school farmer that started this rooftop 9 years ago. And now, after a lot of trial and error, a lot of hiccups, it's a concept that works both technically, socially, and also financially. On the technical part, very short, there's always a lot of complexity to bring a lot of weight on the roof. And if you want a garden on the roof, you need a lot of water. So there's always this complexity. One of the eureka moments were the planters, where you can see in the right bottom corner. On the bottom, there's water captivity. On the top side, there is the soil. So you have ways to plant. On the top corner right, you can see how it looks. Because it takes a lot of weight, we put them on the areas where there is a lot of bearing capacity. So you can see there's the 4 pillars, that's where we can use it. But then all the other parts of the roof, which doesn't have this capacity, we use hay bales, hay stacks. It's an old Aztec way of harvesting. We can harvest all seasonal vegetables on it, but also flowers, as you can see here on the image. And the beautiful thing is that it's a part of the ecosystem, because this, after 1 year of growing on it, it's such a rich soil that we use it for the mulch for the crates on the side. So this is a big point of how do we arrange the roof for different functions and with the capacity it has. But beside this technical part, in the center of it all is the rooftop farmers. These are around 150 paying members that really see this as an extension of their own garden, or even if they don't have a garden, this is their place to go. As I told you, it's 1,800 square meters, so there's room for different type of areas. There's places where you can be quiet and read a book, but there's a pizza oven where you can invite friends and have a small party, but there's also room for chickens and ducks and some fishes and bees. But these people, every 2 weeks, they get guidance from experienced farmers that take them along the journey of growing the crops, but they also do the maintenance. And they learn and they come together and they form this community. It's also online with a lot of information that in between those classes, let's say, they can also go and enjoy. There's 20% of the people doing most of the work, and the other 80 is a bit less, or they really focus on just being there and taking use of this place. Some schools also participate more and more. The agricultural part always stays in the heart, because we really want to create a place where farmers can reconnect with the city and people from the city can reconnect with their food. So there's a farmers market every week. But also we combined 5 smaller biological farmers from around the city. And we bought a van, a cooling van, and we delivered to around 30, 40 restaurants in the neighborhood that really want to tap into this short chain agriculture, freshly biodiverse. And these are small farmers that on their own, they can't compete with the prices and with supermarkets, but together they can have a different part and also take part in the story of what is this rooftop farm as a hub for short chain agriculture. And also this is for the restaurants a way of tapping into this story. And we don't even have to do marketing, because the restaurants, they just make the link with the rooftop farm, like, okay, this is from there. A lot of people think the vegetables come from the roof. That's not the case, because all the vegetables on the roof stay within the community. They share what is there. Another element is our public outreach. It's a big roof, it's a beautiful roof, it's inspirational. So we want to open it up to more and more people, so that not just the 150 paying members can take part. 4,000 visitors a year, roughly, depending on the year. A lot of tours, people from all around the world, a lot of architects, but also local governments and universities and schools come. So that's also a part of our business plan, people pay to come and visit and have a guided tour of the project and so forth. Then there's 2 venues. There's small housing, which can be rented on a daily basis. And we have one of the greenhouses that some of the neighboring companies, also companies from on the site, they have an abonnement, and they can use this for meetings, for brainstorms, but also to invite clients on this green oasis. Also some possibilities for food and restaurants to have some ways. We also really like to open up the place for culture. There's many things that happened already, and we're really looking forward to opening it up more. So there's a variety of activities, but at the core of it, it's the people and the green food element that is at its heart. Here you can see an early drawing of how the entire place looks like. So the question now after 8 years was not like, is the project working? Because it's working. The question now is, can we scale it? Can we do it in other places, in other rooftops, in other type of buildings as well? So at first, the first part of our scalable element was the expertise. More and more people, mostly in the beginning in Flanders, that wanted to do anything on their rooftop. They came to us like, okay, how do we do this? How do we create an ecosystem on the roof? This, for instance, is in Mechelen. It's a small rooftop, 200 square meters, and the city government was selling it, and they said, okay, but you have to do something on the roof that it's about community. So we just started as a consultant to say, okay, how do we do this technically? What is needed to build an ecosystem on the roof? And now we coach them in how to attract the community, even though it's not a project that we still are managing the way we are doing in Antwerp. But then came the question, can we do it also on other rooftops on the bigger scale, not 200 square meters, but more like 1,000 or 2,000? But because we are a small cooperative, we didn't have the resources to fund many years of research and trying and going into long-term projects. So that's when the city of Antwerp came in. They were already looking at the roofs for solar panels, for extensive green roofs as well. There is the Dakendagen festival, what brings culture on the roofs in Antwerp, which is next year going again. Helene and Colette are here as well. They can tell you all about this rooftop festival in Antwerp. So they said, okay, let's do this research together where we can look for new opportunities within Antwerp. You see, we screened, I put 80, I think it's a lot more, but that's what we had. And at the end, in 2025, we started with 1. There's luckily a couple of more. I will take you down there as well. But what came to be is like every rooftop is unique. It has so many different puzzles to put, and every place, not just the structure of the roof, but also the function of the building in between, is very complex and has a lot of elements. For us, our main building blocks are water, soil, and people. These are the 3 things we need to build an ecosystem on the roof, but the building itself has a lot of elements as well. And for the scaling, there's, let's say, 3 main elements. There's the technical requirements, then the stakeholder, the people, the governance, and also the financial framework, who is paying for the whole lot. And in essence, it's always the context that shapes the concept. The concept we have in Pact, we can't copy it. We have the building blocks, okay, this concept is there, but if you do it on a museum, for instance, it's gonna be a different story. So that was always a big mix, and especially in the technical requirements are really at the essence as well. What is the bearing capacity of the building? We always find engineers that say, okay, this roof, 300 kilos. But yeah, we need it on a square meter level. We need to know, can we hold water here, or do we have to work with the haystacks? Where can we put the people? Where is the housing? Do we have a different kind of structure? Especially because how do we hold the water? Because the water holds a lot of weight. So there's different techniques. Do we hold it on the roof? Do it under the roof, under the soil, at the first floor? All these things are a big complexity. Another complexity, or it's not really that of a complexity, it depends, but it's a thing to take in matter. that the stakeholders, like who is the client, who are you working for? Is it the building owner? Is it the people that are going to be on the rooftop farm in the future? Or is it the people that live around? Is it the municipality? So there's different players that have a different story or different needs, so we have to adapt our story as well to their needs. And also, at what point in the process do you tell what story to whom? So there's always this puzzle as well. And then, of course, the financial framework that at the end of all this, it's always at the end, but who's going to pay for it? And a lot of those elements, let's say the main gains, are not always that tangible or not always in numbers. Because, for instance, at Pact, the companies, they all show the images in their marketing about this is our location and we are part of this. But how do you put it into numbers? If you have biodiversity gains or do you have that much water retention, all these benefits, how do you put that in numbers? What we do want to put in numbers is for the owner to say, okay, you believe in this kind of story, so you have to invest in your infrastructure, because at the Pact level, we rated that the building, the worth of the building rises between 5 and 10%, and also the rent can go up because you have this story. In that way, you try to validate this bigger story, also financially. And then comes the government as well, because a lot of private investors say, yeah, but all these gains for the community and for the climate, yeah, that's for the government, that's not our responsibility. Luckily, there are investors or project developers that do see that, but we always see it as a mix. And luckily, a lot of governments have incentives to do it, and there are subsidies, there are ways, but that's always a big mix. The identity of the building is like a filter for the concept. Like you have these conditions, but the identity of the building, what is the function? Like I said, if it's a museum or if it's a company site, if it's a living area, it's a whole different element. Is it publicly owned? Is it private owned? That's also a different approach. Is it a new building, so you can just say what you need to build it? Or is it an existing building, which is more complicated to look at, okay, these are the existing conditions and we have to work with that. So all that, the context always shapes the concept, even though the main concept, the building blocks, we have them. This is the one I told about, the second rooftop. It's on the Museum of Modern Arts in Antwerp. This is the first phase. It's a museum, so they have their closing and opening hours. It's accessible to everyone who wants to go in. And this is the terrace of the restaurant and the bar. They also wanted to keep it, of course, as a rooftop terrace, but also for events, for openings, for expositions. So we had to come up with new ideas of not just using the whole space, which we did in Pact. So we started vertically. The same idea of holding the water on the bottom of the planters, but working more vertically, or it can for climbing, or really a lot of soil to harvest the crops. There's always the greenhouse. Another element is, again, the water. There was not enough water for the whole plants in the planters. So luckily, someone came up with the idea of putting a valve underneath the tiles. So there is water on the whole level, but it's just with a valve that can open up if necessary or close, so we can keep the water there. Another element we let's say, invented was this element where you take one tile out and you put some cloth with soil and with plants, so you can have green elements in the terrace without really taking the whole spot, but still breaking the concrete feeling of the building. These are some examples as well. The complexity there with the stakeholders is it's a museum. It's the central government owns it, but it's in a city and it's a museum, so they have all different needs. It's quite a big organization as well. It's a museum, so they have a lot of security things. They have a lot of bureaucracy. We are a small dynamic group of doers. We want to do and go, and they always, but we have to check, and I can't decide that, and we have to go see the man. So this is a complexity just within one organization. But we started with around 50 rooftop farmers now. The same idea of every 2 weeks opening up for class, let's say, working together. But it's a different element because it's not their roof, it's the roof of the museum. So it's a different identity they feel. So we're looking into it now because we started last year in May, and now we're really looking at creating a place for them that it's okay, and it's not just you are here in the rooftop restaurant, but you get your own space. And that was the idea of phase 2, which is the other side of the building, which is an even bigger rooftop farm. This was our first design. Again, we had to work vertically so they could use the space still for other events. But this now is, let's say, on hold. The Flemish government is rearranging the museum landscape in Flanders, so it's on hold. The good thing is the museum itself is really keen to grow this project. So we put just a really shitload of haystacks and again, a greenhouse. So this is how we really want to take over the roof now as to show like, no, this is going to be our place. Another project is also social housing. This is a new building. So in that way, it was easy for us. We could just tell the architects we need this, and that. So that was, it almost felt unreal because it was so easy. It was like, okay, here, this is what we need. And okay, then they do this wedstrijd, a challenge, and all the architects, and they came with ideas. And I was like, okay, nice. And then we go sit together. Okay, let's now really do it. So that was a nice thing. On the other hand, the social housing is a different complexity. It's not the same as a company site where there's bars and restaurants and this is more an element of how to get these stakeholders. Like it's the people that live there, but the idea is also to attract the neighborhood, to make, instead of a place where, let's say, has a more negative image and there's always problems and noise and whatever, to a place like where people want to go to, like companies can go and use the place or people from the neighborhood. But there is this tension between how can you make this roof part of the people that live there, but still maintain it as something, you want to go there. There is this level of ownership as well. And that's where we now feel there's the tension we are at now. They're now going for the permits, so it's happening. It's going in the right direction. But this is something we want to. The proposal we did now, like here in the middle on the ground floor, there's going to be like some sort of. It's not really a food forest, but a jardin forêt, a forest garden. And every month we're going to go with all the people. There's a lot of children to harvest and use that as a moment to gather everybody who lives there and cook together, eat together as a community moment. But this is actually the point we're at now. This, let's say, stakeholder analysis and this conceptual phase, that's where we're up now. This is the beginning point. We're now just firstly trying to get the permit and the negotiations as well about who's paying what and are we going to pay some rent or what's the functionality. The good thing is the Flemish government had a subsidy for innovation projects. So half of the construction of the rooftop is already paid for by this subsidy. So now there's the other half, which we are still looking. We're going to do some maintenance of the inside garden as well. So as they mentioned before, maintenance of a garden or a rooftop garden is a big expense as well. For a rooftop with agricultural elements, it's around 27 euros per square meter per year. So if at Pact we would do this, it would cost 50,000 euros, and we're doing it for free. So this is also for investors a way to see, like, okay, so for 10 years we don't have to pay the 50,000, so that's 500,000 euros now. It's like, now we're talking their language. Now they can understand what is the worth of these kind of projects, and on top of that, you get a community work, you get a beautiful story, and a place that people want to go to. Some of the last drawings, there's a small house as well that we can use. There's a greenhouse, different planters on the side. These are the planters I said with the water on the bottom, but it's also being used as the railing. So it's water, soil, and a railing, 3 in 1. And it's actually IBC crates, the big plastic crates we redeveloped to build these things. Very shortly, I think I'm already over time. Some images. This is also a project in Vilvoorde. This is with the same owner of Pact. They had a new project and it was not selling enough, so they needed the story. Well, no, another partner, and they called them and they said, hey, you know how to do this? Okay, but we want the rooftop as well to make a bigger impact on the local community, but also to the local government to say like, hey, this is not just another project. We are really telling the story here. And they already know our value. So for them, it's just like, okay, just tell us what time do you need and how much will it cost? So they really value already because they know it. Last thing, this is from Roeselaar, it's another story, but it's really a roof. The engineer said, no, it's not possible. You can't do anything on this roof. With our creativity, we really looked for elements that this is possible, and the engineer as well calculated it. And the good thing is here they are already with 2 European projects, so also the funding is there already. So now the question is not anymore, is it scalable? Yeah, because we're doing it. And that's a beautiful thing, and what we are really focused on is everybody makes renders and makes beautiful images of, this is the rooftop and it's green, and we put more roofs and more green. But then you get, if you don't think about what's going to happen afterwards, then it just dies, and that's too bad. And that's what we really focus on, to have the whole story and to really start from the beginning. Is it possible? How is the roof? What do we need? During the process, seeing what is necessary and rearrange the concept to, at the end, see, okay, how can we manage this on a long term, that the project is still likely to survive in many years. So, yeah, we really believe that these kind of hubs are necessary in the dense cities, especially in Western Europe, where people can still breathe and still reconnect with their food, and also attracting farmers and people in the city, again, to make a sustainable city and a better food system with it as well. If you see opportunities in your cities, give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adriaan. Hard to stop you in all your enthusiasm. So, but we really like your story and what you're doing. Almost over to the last speaker. Last round around the world, all the way to Chile, to Santiago, the capital of Chile. There's one project that is not from this year. I only discovered it this year because the artist got the Pritzker Prize this year. And 10 years ago, he built this amazing, it's a theater. And on top, he did just, well, something that looks like a circus tent. And I really love it. This is the way up to the rooftop. It's just this place. It's very hot there. I don't need to tell you. I think it's an amazing way to very easily turn a rooftop into a very visible site. I'm just going to show this again. It's so simple. It's so good. Let's do those things. And again, you don't need to be green to be very nice rooftop. But let's go over to the last speaker, all the way from London. We are always looking for someone who gives a more broader perspective on rooftops. So we're looking for someone who can do that. And we are very pleased that we have Phineas Harper here. I asked Phineas, how should I call you? And they said a critic, sculptor, but it's much more than that. Please give a warm welcome to Phineas Harper.
Thank you. Hi. I feel like it's appropriate that the Dutch, who are the tallest in Europe, put on such good rooftop festivals. It's like they clearly like getting up high in this country. Thank you. Can you do me a quick favor? Can you like sit up straight and stretch with one arm? And then stretch with the other arm. And then do it with both at the same time. Does that feel good? Feels good, right? Like our bodies know this, that reaching upwards is like inherently good for us as humans somehow. This is a talk called The Height of Generosity, and I'm going to have to like refer to my notes quite a lot because they've actually pre-transcribed it and printed it all out. So if you like anything that I say, they're going to give you it all. And if you hate anything I say, you can tear out the pages. So that's very helpful. Right, section 1, living like the rich. When the Austrian architect Harry Gluck designed this 1970s Viennese kind of social housing estate, he wanted to make a neighborhood where everybody could, as he put it, live like the rich. And for him, that meant, outstanding communal facilities, loads of sort of amenities nearby on this estate, including, most iconically, enormous rooftop swimming pools. There are 14 swimming pools at Alt Eller, this housing estate, 7 of which are on the roof. And they have a sort of view out in one direction towards Vienna city center and in the other direction towards the Alps in the kind of far distance. They are a powerful exemplar, I think, sort of municipal generosity meeting a kind of intense architectural vitality. And the pools are the kind of autopoiesis of this, this sort of spirit of Gluck's sort of social and urban vision for what a living like the rich could mean. Rooftops are charged cultural spaces. Batman brutally stands on them, surveying Gotham City. It's hard to watch a Batman movie without him standing on a rooftop at some point. Deckard and Roy fight on a rooftop about what it means to be human in Blade Runner. Jesus says to his disciples, "What I whisper in your ear, proclaim from the rooftops." Trinity leaps between rooftops in the opening act of The Matrix. Hans Gruber falls from a rooftop in the final act of Die Hard. These are like woven into our culture so much. In many places, it's common to have a topping out ceremony when you reach the highest point of your building. In other traditions, it's traditional to kind of attach a wreath or a tree to the top of your building to invite in friendly spirits when you get to the highest point of it. Rooftops, they tell stories, and we tell stories with them. How we use them and who we allow access to them reveals much, I think, about the values of our society and our municipalities. I'm from London, and in the center of London, there are 2 rooftops by the same architects, commissioned by the same clients, very, very close to each other, that I think say a lot about different attitudes to the possibilities and principles of how inclusive urban living should be. So, does this have a laser? Yeah, cool. No laser. Never mind, you can see the Golden Lane Estate. Golden Lane Estate is a 1950s housing estate right in the center of London, in what's called the City of London, the kind of little bit of London that the rest of London is around. And the Barbican Estate is next to it. And they were both built by an architecture firm called Chamberlain, Powell and Bon, both commissioned by the local government, the City of London Corporation, following World War II from the sort of bombed out center of the city. And yet, in some ways, they couldn't be more different. And it's really the rooftops where that difference comes to light. So, Golden Lane Estate was built for kind of ordinary working class Londoners, and it has gentrified a lot over the years, but it still retains some of that demographic. At its heart are like community facilities. There's a swimming pool, there's a community hall, there's a barber shop, there's a pub, like ordinary, normal things that every Londoner needs. The Barbican, however, is built around a vast kind of arts center with galleries, cinemas, a theater, and a 1,900-seat concert hall. If Golden Lane is built around an idea of what the working classes need to live in a city, then the Barbican is built around an idea of what the middle classes desire to be sort of tempted to live in a city. But it's really the rooftops where that contrast is most obvious. So at 100 meters tall, Golden Lane has this tower called Great Arthur House. It was the tallest residential building in Britain when it was first built, and it sort of heralds a modern spirit of municipal generosity with this very chic, I think, rooftop garden, like two-tier rooftop garden where residents could meet and watch the sun go down and hang their laundry. And then the Barbican overtakes Golden Lane. It's commissioned a few years later. It's built in the 70s. It's literally taller at 123 meters. And it has a very different approach to what you do with the top of your tower. So rather than a shared facility like Great Arthur House, the Barbican's Cromwell, Lauderdale, and Shakespeare towers have these enormous three-story penthouses where Golden Lane used that high spot to create a kind of pocket of public luxury. The Barbican uses its kind of equivalent urban space to create private luxury for the very few. Public generosity versus private luxury is, I think, the real story here of architecture's relationship with rooftops. In the hands of good urban planners and good municipalities, rooftops grant restorative reprieve and buoyancy to the city when they're open and generously used. They're like a harmony that enriches the melody of the cityscape below them. But if you just leave them to the kind of machinations of purely commercial interests, it doesn't take long for them to become gated spaces hidden behind very high price tags for really only the super rich as private penthouses or hotel bars and that kind of thing. So section 2, high-rise hierarchy. A mile north of the Barbican, where I've just been talking about, is this enormous ground scraper, which is nearing completion. It is more than twice as long as OMA's de Rotterdam is tall. It's absolutely colossal. It's one of the biggest office buildings in Europe, and atop its 350-meter bulk is a rooftop garden, 8,590 square meters of rooftop garden, to be precise. It's so expansive that is already sustaining a family of wild foxes. No one knows how they got up there. There is no ramp up to it. Ooh. But they're living there. Are we going to get our slides back? Maybe. What? It's the worst possible time to go to the loo. It doesn't matter. I can talk for a bit without the slides. My point is that all of that earth, all of those trees, all of those shrubs, all of those foxes are being held up by 15,900 tons of steel. Now, steel is one of the highest carbon building materials out there. It takes about 8% of the world's carbon emissions, just steel that's used in buildings. To produce 1 ton of construction steel emits about 2 tons of CO2. Now, of course, Bjarke Ingels, the architecture firm behind that massive Google HQ ground scraper, they say, quote, "The project emphasizes sustainability in all aspects of its design." But my question is spewing 30,000 tons of carbon on a publicly inaccessible roof garden truly that sustainable? The Google ground scraper is, I think, an example of quite performative private luxury. This is a sort of canopy of leaves that will poke out over the top of the building and sort of say to all the plebs down below, you know, look at us, look at what we've got. It's sort of like a billboard for working at Google. There's that quote from Bjarke. Yeah, so it's sorry, yeah, ignore the fox. Symbolically and literally sort of separated from the people below. This is a rooftop garden that really is just acting as a sort of stratifier to separate the haves and the have-nots, the wealthy Google employees from the less wealthy people below. And it's not the first time this sort of idea of like rooftops and their relationship to class and wealth has been explored. This is a 1975, this is weird, the notes are now out of sync with the slides. We're back, okay, cool. Okay, thank you. A 1975 science fiction story called High Rise by J.G. Ballard, you might know it. It explores sort of anxieties about modernist architecture through a sort of imagined massive superblock built somewhere in the docklands of London. And you know, the sort of thought in the story is that technical workers and kind of working class people live at the bottom, and then you have a sort of middle class with like a shopping district and a swimming pool in the middle of the tower, and then right at the top are a sort of oligarchy of what Ballard describes as minor tycoons, entrepreneurs, television actresses, and career academics. I don't think career academics can really make it to the top of society anymore, but maybe back in the 70s. And then right at the top of this imaginary tower, it's Anthony Royal, architect of this superblock, who lives in a penthouse suite next to a rooftop garden, which comes to play a sort of unsettling role in the story's arc. So at first it seems benign. We're told that it has an observation deck and a little garden that's open to everybody. There's a quote that it's fitted with swings, roundabouts, and play sculptures, specifically intended by Anthony Royal for the amusement of residents' children. You've got a glimpse of what's about to happen. As the story unfolds, the rich people living at the top of the tower start to gate it off, and successive groups of children from the lower classes are turned away as the richer people become more and more anxious about letting ordinary people up to their rooftop garden. And in the surreal final act of the story, Anthony Royal finds the garden drenched with blood as murder and even potentially cannibalism have come to take over the tower. Now, this is obviously all fiction, but the social anxiety of that runs through High Rise, the fear of what people of different backgrounds might do if they lived vertically, cheek by jowl, tells us something about our schizophrenic relationship with tall buildings. They are at once associated with municipal socialism and sort of the relief of poverty and sort of triumphs of the post-war welfare state, but then they're also symbols of high finance, elite wealth, and profound luxury. Balfron Tower, for example, which the architect of which is Erno Goldfinger, who actually inspired the character of Anthony Royal, because after he designed this building, he moved in to the top floor. Balfron Tower is seen by some as like this horrible, dreary eyesore that you couldn't imagine anything more hideous and ugly, and then by others it's seen as like the pinnacle of chic high-rise living. Like, what a dynamic and well-composed building. And it's so, how this kind of, this duality of views is possible is kind of very intriguing to me. I think one of the reasons Britain in particular has such a sort of confused idea of whether tallness is good or bad, it's very boring. It comes from mortgages, right? Banks don't like to lend to people to buy homes in tall buildings in the UK. So the only people who can live in a tower like this are either the very poor, who get put there by a local authority, kind of whether they like it or not, or the very rich, who have so much money that they can buy an apartment here without needing a bank to lend them the money to do so. And that means the whole of the middle class is kind of not living here and doesn't really get it and hasn't ever seen the views from the top of it, and it struggles to appreciate why anybody would start to value this kind of architecture. Anyway, but I think that's sort of true in other countries. We're sort of confused about like who should be able to get up to a rooftop and how we should use them. So, section 3, fear of heights. What would a serious municipal strategy for rooftops look like? I've drawn a line between a sort of architecture of public luxury, in which rooftops are sort of freely open to all, and an architecture of kind of elitism and private luxury, where they're like very gated and only for the wealthy. But this is like many simplifications, not entirely true. That amazing, exuberant rooftop garden that I sort of gushed about earlier and said was like a wonderful example that London has to offer has been shut for decades because the municipality that owns it has put a padlock on the gates and won't even let the people in the tower that it is part of up to use their own rooftop garden. Its ornamental pond has been drained, and its doors are closed. Despite owning one of the best rooftops in the city, the municipality just can't be bothered to keep it open for the benefit of the communities it's intended to serve, let alone a kind of wider sense of the public. And it's not just sort of recreational rooftop spaces that have been shut either. This is the Spa Green Estate by the Russian-born Bertolt Lebetkin, and it has this sort of aerofoil canopy on the top that was intended to catch wind and channel it into gusts that could help dry laundry more quickly. So in a sort of era before everyone had tumble dryers, you could take your clothes, your damp clothes up to the roof and they would dry very quickly. But the Greater London Council, that was then in charge of this estate, closed 1,000 laundry facilities, including this space, overnight, sort of in the 80s. And they said, you know, this is a temporary measure. A little girl had had a sort of freak accident, and that their response was to close all these places down. And they said, they promised, in fact, that they would come back. But none of them have come back. This whole rooftop has been shut for 5 decades at this point. And I think there's a problem there. Cowardly civil servants have dealt with, you know, I'm sure they've wrung their hands and sort of said, oh, you know, it's so dangerous to allow the public back up to these rooftop spaces without constant supervision. But I think those people really need to take a look at themselves in the mirror. Roads are far more dangerous than rooftops. Canals and beaches and rivers are far more dangerous than rooftops, and we don't fence those off. The instinct to kind of lock off high places is not coming from a genuine, balanced, reasonable concern for public safety. It's coming from a myopic, selfish fear of lawsuits, I think. And it's the same sort of patrician lanyard class who in their personal lives take risks, like they drink alcohol, they smoke cigarettes, they break the speed limit, they jaywalk. In their personal life, they're happy taking balanced risks. But when it comes to the communities that they are meant to serve, too often they will happily deny an entire community access to a rooftop garden for so-called safety reasons, even when those are really quite fringe and minor. So it turns out that architecture as public luxury, without a genuinely ambitious and publicly spirited local authority, doesn't have a particularly long shelf life. The only thing less generous than luxury for the few is luxury for none. So, you know, how could local authorities embrace, ensure, and incentivize the strategic and joyful use of roof space more effectively? And what policy levers could be pulled by the enlightened to sort of oblige Google to make that massive rooftop garden accessible to everybody? Or, you know, what could we do to reopen the Golden Lane rooftop terrace that was shut by the City of London Corporation? And what about gentrification, the G word? So section 4, there are 5 sections to give you a sense of like how fast we're going through this. Section 4, the rooftop bar as an estate agent's wet dream. Frank's Cafe is a rooftop bar perched on a multi-story car park in Peckham in South London. It's become a sort of flashpoint in debate about gentrification. It was designed by Practice Architecture, who have gone on to become sort of material, kind of eco hotshots called material cultures, very worth checking out. And it has this sort of timber structure and then this retractable red canopy. And it was built in 2009. And it was a huge success, just huge success. Within weeks, hordes of young professionals are pouring into Peckham, climbing up this multi-story car park to take in the sort of quite spectacular views at the top of Frank's. Peckham is a relatively deprived area and significantly black neighborhood, and the crowds of richer, whiter visitors, to many, I think, felt like a really overt wave of quite aggressive gentrification. And sure enough, Peckham is now undergoing all sorts of other changes. Much more bougie bars have opened. There are 20-story developments being planned for very close to Frank's. A rooftop can transform your perspective of an area. Districts that might have seemed uninviting or a bit scary even can suddenly feel like inspiring and full of possibility when seen from up high. Some of us had that experience earlier today going up those rooftops. Height does something physiological to us. It does something psychological to us. We understand vertigo when you're like, oh, but there's also something happening, something positive happening to our bodies as well, especially when you see height for the first time. I used to run a festival called Open House Festival in London, and we'd get this every time we opened up the kind of rooftop viewing platform in the BT Tower, that people would come out of the lift just like joyful, and they'd be sort of beaming at each other. They were having the best day of their lives because they were seeing their city from this new perspective, and it was like doing something to their psychology. And this is actually a well-known phenomenon that's been studied by psychologists and psychiatrists. It's the same brain process that happens when we go abroad. When we go overseas and our body is emancipated from its usual routine, it's in a different context, we're experiencing a new sensory stimulation, that then makes it easier for our brain to build new synaptic pathways, especially as we get older. And so it's why vacations, they seem to sort of like fly by when you're on them, but then when you remember back to them, it feels like they went on for weeks or months even. It's because our brain is growing when we're on vacation. And rooftops are sort of like the same. It's going up to a new roof is a bit like going on holiday in your own city. It changes a bit of your brain chemistry for the time that you're up there. And so Frank's was inadvertently an estate agent's wet dream, because people who might never previously have considered Peckham as a place to go and visit or even move went there, had a glorious view, drank Negronis, had a kind of lovely time that might have changed their understanding of the south of London. How many couples went on a date there and sort of tottered home at the end, going, oh, well, we could move to Peckham. Must have been an enormous impact. But, as rising rents displace urban communities and city centres, not just in London, but everywhere, could rooftops play another kind of role? Maybe not exacerbating gentrification, but perhaps softening it. And section 5 is called Public Luxury Strategy. This is the design district. It's a very weird set of buildings in the Docklands. It's near the Millennium Dome. You have, there's a sort of pod by Sel Gascano. There's this sort of terracotta and glass building by David Cohn Architects with these extremely ugly Damien Hirst sculptures on it. There's a sort of silver one by Barozzi Vega. Most of them have quite boring rooftops, except this one by Architecture 00, which has a sort of mesh-wrapped rooftop basketball court. And I think the idea was that this would be a sort of resource for workers, like for the designers who are working in the design district. But of course, this being London, the primary customer is in fact teenage boys who sneak up here and sort of break in, or maybe they like rent it for very little money. And so the designers don't seem to use it very much, but there's a constant trickle of school kids from the local area coming and using this basketball court. Now, none of this, I've been quite down on municipalities in a way, but the design district wouldn't have happened, and this basketball court wouldn't have happened without a bit of leadership from the Mayor of London, who basically forced the property developer to build it as part of getting permission to build a much wider redevelopment. And for me, this basketball court is a sort of moment of public generosity and a genuinely useful amenity for those local kids that has sort of taken the edge off the gentrification slightly that is being pushed by this big Chinese developer, Night Dragon. It's offsetting the kind of corrosive social impact of that process. So I propose that every city should adopt a public luxury strategy rooted in part in a tactical rooftop audit. Local authorities need to see their role as key enablers of, but maybe more importantly, the gatekeepers to a generous cityscape packed with civic amenities. There is a role for local government in thinking through whether the BT Tower should be sold off and turned into a hotel, which is currently what's happening to it. And there is a role for local authorities in demanding that for every Frank's cafe pushing up property prices and gentrifying areas, there's genuinely useful public amenities like the basketball court offsetting that change. Building a rooftop swimming pool, like Harry Gluck did for every 1,000 residents in Ultula, might be beyond the scope of most local councils. But there are many opportunities for more public generosity hiding in plain sight at height. The Ballardian padlock on Golden Lane's rooftop terrace should be sawn off tomorrow, and its ponds should be refilled, and Lebetkin's aerofoil laundry drying area should be reinstated. Sometimes creating public luxury is as simple as opening a door to the rooftop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phineas. Well, your brain must have been almost fried now after all these lectures and this amazing speech to end with. We almost let you off this rooftop to go to another rooftop, but we have one really important thing to do. We have to go back to Rotterdam, and we have to choose our Rooftop Hero 2026. For those who are here for the first time, we always choose a rooftop hero every year. There are some rooftop heroes here in the audience. Can I see some hands? I see 4 rooftop heroes here. There are over 10 already for the past few years. We celebrate someone who made a great contribution to using rooftops. And we also do this year. This is a very official ceremony thing with a very official jury. And of course, we have a very official someone to read the jury report. We have William Stregels here. He is the secretary of our board of the Rotterdam Rooftop Days. He's going to read out the whole report and reveals who is going to be our next rooftop hero. But we also have here the rooftop hero of last year, because it's a tradition that the rooftop hero of last year hands out the new rooftop hero award. Can I have 8? Oh, so you don't have to go too fast here, because then we... Woo, that was exciting. Eitan Levy is from Roofscapes in Paris. They're amazing. Check out their website and what they're doing. They're a rooftop hero. He has his little... Can you show it to the people? It's very small, but very... and someone has the new... and is fetching the new hero things for you. She's doing that. William, can you get up here? I have a mic for you. Very special moment. You have a speech. And you're going to tell us who the new rooftop hero will be this year.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is the rooftop people. The Rooftop Hero is an annual award presented by the Rotterdamse Dakendagen to the person or organization that makes a significant contribution to bringing the international roofscape into use. Rooftop heroes come in many forms, but their love and activism for rooftops is always beyond question. Rooftop heroes are never chosen because they realized one beautiful rooftop in the past year, but always for a broader contribution to the process of putting rooftops into use. A rooftop hero never works alone, but is a pivotal force in a web of partners who, together with them, try to make the world a better place by using rooftops. This year is no different. This year's Roof Hero has been active in Roofscape for nearly 10 years, planting seeds for the future with their feet in the rooftop soil and inspiring many with what they do. In collaboration with many partners, this hero works daily towards the transition to a greener and more sustainable city, a local and organic food web, and a stronger social fabric. They have been widely praised, but rarely awarded. We consider them one of the finest rooftop examples in Europe and perhaps the world. When you visit them, it doesn't feel like something that was placed on a rooftop, but like something that has grown there. And that they allow to keep growing on more rooftops too. For this fantastic contribution to the roofscape and their tireless ambition to take it further, we proudly name the Rooftop Hero of 2026, Volle Grond from Antwerp. Congratulations, Artje van Oekelen, Bram Stessel en Adriaan Vermeulen.
Wow, Adriaan. What a day, what a day. We're very proud that you are here and that you do this amazing work and you've shown this relentless ambition. We have one big problem, or rather a small problem, and the problem is so small that it went somewhere else than where it is now. I don't know how to explain this better than in that way. But I have Ethan here, and he's going to shake your hand and congratulate you and pass on this rooftop heroism. And later this day, somewhere amongst the beer, we'll give you your little, what do you call it in English? Pin, your little pin. And it's with magnets. You don't have to pin it anywhere. It's very innovative, just like you like. So, do you have some words for the feeling you have now?
Very grateful, really not expecting it. Maybe some words to the founding father and founding mother of the project, Bram and Atje. They're not here today because they really started this project, and Hannelore and me came in later and growing the project. So all honor goes to them first. And thank you for this beautiful honor.
Yeah, I'm Adriaan's colleague as the location manager of Pact, and Adriaan being our growing, the guy who makes everything grow and makes it bigger. I agree with him, and I just think that, which is amazing, is that we are actually 7 people not working more than 50% of the time for Volle Grond, and I am just blown away every day by what our colleagues with such a very, very small team with basically no public funds, except some projects, of course, but generally every day that we realize, and it's just really amazing. So thank you. And losing the pin is not a problem because we're a group of chaotic people. Most of us have ADHD, and we lose stuff all the time, so it's normal.
One picture with the old Ethan, you also, yeah. Here we are. Oh, to the public.
Cheer for them, yeah!
So I didn't want to show that, but back to Rotterdam. So we're at the end of our plenary program. We're now going to walk the block. We built this yellow path over 12 rooftops, and we're going to walk it together. We're going to walk over there. We're now there at the top next to the central station. Here you see walk the block, and the entrance is like here. You just walk one straight line and then you're there. But if you walk behind Nikki, then you all will follow. And choose your speaker. If you say, I want to ask him or her a question, do that. It's an informal walk with questions for the speakers. And on the way out, me and Hannah, where is Hannah? There she is. Can I get an applause for Hannah? She was the project leader of this whole Knowledge Day. Me and Hannah will hand out the essay of Phineas. The essay is in English, but on the other side, it's in Dutch, but then it's turned upside down, and when you turn it up again, then the English is turned upside down. But you will figure it out. And also there is Emil and Wouter, one of our rooftop heroes of a few years ago. They have this amazing Roofscape Rotterdam booklet that they made of their ambition to green the whole area that we have this yellow path upon. So also take that booklet from them. And remember, tomorrow, World Green Roof Day. Let's celebrate that. That for now. In the end, we have beers in the beer garden, and the beer garden is just in the middle there. If you get lost, just go to the middle. There we have the beers. See you next year. Thank you very much. We go out on that way.